Morning and a Freilich and Hanukkah. A little funny, we're learning about Pesach and Hanukkah, but so it is.
No Gemara Hanukkah.
Sorry,
There's no Gemara.
there is Gemara Hanukkah, not Mishnah. Gemara. We actually learned it there. I have on YouTube we went through the whole Gemara that discusses Hanukkah. It's in our channel, the playlist. No, it's in Masechta Shabbos. There's a section on Hanukkah.
Right.
The Gemara there compares the candles you can use for your Shabbos candles versus the candles you can use for menorah. From there, the Gemara launches into the My Hanukkah Sugya. Okay, we learned it once. It's on the channel somewhere. You can see it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're middle of learning chapter 474 of the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. All right, we're finishing the chapter we began yesterday or 2 days ago, and we got to this chapter because this chapter discusses the dispute between the Sephardic and Ashkenazic custom, the Beis Yosef and the Ramah, as to whether one should make only 2 hagafens on the 4. 2 out of the 4 should get hagafen, the 4 cups. Cup number 1 and then cup number 3. Cup number 1 because it's the first cup you're drinking, and cup number 3 because it's the one after benching. But cup number 2 would be covered by the hagafen of cup number 1, and cup number 4 would be covered by the hagafen making cup number 3. That was Beis Yosef's view. And the Ramah, which said we make a bracha on each of the 4 cups of wine. Now, the reason for why making a bracha on each of the 4 cups, when seemingly the Beis Yosef's argument in the halachic perspective of covering brachas is very sound. And there was a discussion. We saw a little bit about different opinions about what the reasons might be. The Magen Avram's reason and the Rosh's reason. And then we saw the Alter Rebbe's view specifically, that each and every one is a mitzvah of a derech chedus. It's a new chedus. It's a new freedom.
Right.
And therefore a new agafen. And that comes from our Gemara that we're learning. Right? Because this statement, that each one is a new mitzvah, a new chedus, is to answer the question of why the sages allowed to institute a mitzvah that's done in pairs, which seems to be dangerous. One of the Gemara's answers is, well, it's not in pairs because each and every one is a separate entity, right? Yeah. So that was the rationale, Alter Rebbe, Magen Avram, in explaining why we make 4 hagafens, and that's why we took the time to look at this chapter. So we learned the first 2 halachas. The whole chapter is 3 halachas. We learned the first 2. The first one was the opinion of Beis Yosef. The second one was the opinion of the Ramah with the reasons of the Magen Avram, as with the nuance of the Alter Rebbe adding the word chedus. Now we're looking at halacha 3, which discusses the after bracha. Yeah, this is where we are. Halacha Gimel, halacha 3 in Tov Ayin Daled, chapter 474 of the Alter Rebbe.
We also said it's really 1, not 4, because if it were 4, then we don't do bracha mitzvah.
Oh, so it's 1 mitzvah,
it's 1,
but 4 chedus.
It's 4 chedus. Right. We really conclude that was 4 chedus.
Yeah, it's 4 it's 4 mitzvahs of chedus, right, as opposed to 4 mitzvahs to drink cups of wine.
Under
1 mitzvah to drink 4 cups of wine, which is why you don't make a shekel shalom. So it's mitzivanu because it's divided into 4. That's right. That's the anomaly. Hagafen 4, but a shekel shalom would have been 1, but not because it's broken up.
Right.
Okay.
It covers all ground.
Yeah. Yeah, but hagafen being born out of the chedus, that was our suggestion, the mitzvah of chedus. Okay, halacha gimel, all of the above. That is to say, there's a dispute as to whether you should be making 2 hagafens or 4 hagafens. Is l'inyan bracha rishona is with respect to the bracha that precedes the drinking. Aval bracha achrona ala yayin, but the bracha that follows after hagafen, which we call ala gefen, right? Not ala michya. It's or me'ein shalish, right? There are 3 brachas in the regular long extended benching. There's actually 4, but 3 biblical ones that we say in benching after bread. And for food items that are on the list of 7 kinds of fruit for Eretz Yisrael, we make 1 bracha that's me'ein shalish, that incorporates within it some elements of each of those 3. Yeah, that's what's called me'ein shalish. So wine, of course, is made out of grape, which is one of the 7 kinds. So we get me'ein shalish. That's the bracha achrona. That's the benching of wine. So with respect to the benching of wine, don't make a benching on any of the cups. With the exception of the last cup.
Because they're covered under the benching.
They're covering under one benching at the end. Or let's just say the first two are covered by the benching of the benching, and the second two are covered by the benching at the end, the alagefen. But either way, the benching covers all the cups drank before. Namely, even in those views which say shahalal v'Haggadah, that the halal and the Haggadah chashuvim mehefsek le'inyan bracha rishona constitute an interruption with respect to making the bracha that precedes it. So, for example, first of all, we have the Rosh, which said that the reason why you should make a bracha on each one is because halal and Haggadah constitute an interruption between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 respectively. Right? The Alter give a different reason for why we make the 4 brachas, but there is an opinion which says the reason why we're making 4 brachas is because of the interruptions between each one. Right? Moreover, there's a view which we don't follow, but there's a view which says that the hadama on karpas is not covered by the hadama. The hadama of karpas will not cover your maror. There is that view. We don't take that view because again,
you don't say hadama again,
right? So we don't say hadama again because for us the second bracha actually is covered by the first. The only reason why we're making a new hagafen is because it's a new mitzvah of cheres. But really, the Haggadah factor is not an interruption. So when you eat the karpas knowing you're going to eat the maror, one bracha hadama. Right. Now, even if you were to follow the view, which says that you have to make a new hadama because Haggadah is an interruption, you come up nonetheless with respect to benching, Haggadah and the halal is not considered an interruption. We don't think it's an interruption at all anyway. But even if you're of the view that it's considered an interruption with respect to the bracha that comes before the eating, it's not an interruption with respect to the benching that comes, the bracha, the benching that comes after the eating.
Why is that?
We'll explain. And all of the cups are covered by the benching that you will do at the end of the last cup. It sounds like there's no practical difference, but it sounds like the ala gefen that the main shalosh you make at the end of benching after the 4 cups actually covers even 1 and 2, as opposed to the benching in middle counting covered 1 and 2. That's what it sounds like. There's no practical difference, but just that's the way it sounds like. He says the bracha at the end covers all the cups you drank.
Why would you even bench then?
You're benching because you ate matzah. Because you're done eating matzah. And you had your meal. Yeah? And that continues. Right? And we'll see even more clearly what he says here, next paragraph. You with me?
Yeah. Hung up on
why it doesn't constitute.
Would you have a repetitive
bracha Roshana and not achrona?
Saying a bracha
before
to cover 2 things, covering when one is sufficient to cover, let's say the first 2 cups.
Okay.
I mean, why would they even make that statement? The final
covers all.
Covers all. When the third one presumably covers the first, the third, and the first.
No, what they say? You mean what? What's it again?
I'm trying to understand why.
You mean the benching would have covered
the benching on the 4th one would cover everything preceding it.
Yeah.
When presumably when you bench for bread,
that should cover number 1 and 2. Okay. Again, there's no practical difference, but we'll see here. Let's see. Even the benching. Shugmar v'siluk achar sada, which constitutes a break and saying I'm done eating, and therefore chashiv kehefsik v'esachdas inyan bracha rishona, and therefore it's considered a break and therefore a diversion of attention, which would require you that if you decided to re-engage in eating, you have to make another bracha rishona. Right? Nonetheless, the inyan bracha rishona with respect to the after bracha, ein haschadas maskik levarich bracha achrona. My diverting attention from eating does not require me to bench right away. So if I'm sitting in and so When I make a bracha Roshana, here's the difference. When I make a bracha Roshana, I'm making a shahakal. I have to engage in the drinking right now. I can't sit down at a table knowing that at some point later in this sitting, I'm going to be drinking water. I make a shahakal now, go on to doing some other things. And then when the water comes, drink my water because I said I shahakal at the beginning. You can't do that. You have to drink it right away, right? Which means, therefore, if in my head I'm done drinking water, and now orange juice arrives, I didn't bench yet on my water, but I have to make a new shahakal on that orange juice because I'm done drinking.
In your mind,
That's right. But if I decide right now I'm done with this tea, I'm not required to make a benching right now. I can finish the class and do benching after, right? Which means that diverting attention does not require you to bench right away. Oh, so therefore the bracha, the benching, which is the diverting of attention with respect to making a bracha that precedes the food you're about to continue eating. But it's not diverting attention with respect to making the after bracha. Because diverting, or let me rephrase that, diverting attention is not considered a break with respect to the after bracha.
Yeah.
I can divert my attention, finish the class, and then bench after. As he says. Because if I want to, I can decide I'm not drinking tea anymore, continue doing the class, get a water, make a shahakal again, because in my head I'm done drinking, and then bench on both. Right? Indicating that a break in attention does not require you to do an after bracha right away. So therefore, even though benching in middle required me to make a new bracha on cup number 3, even according to Beis Yosef, it's not considered a break in that, or the fact that it's a break doesn't mean that I shouldn't be doing another benching later to cover all my wine.
Right, so you don't need to do a bracha korn on number 2. It'll be covered in
Correct.
number
4.
4 or 3.
And if when I if I decide to stop drinking, and then I decide to start drinking, and I make a new bracha, I can cover benching on both. Like I give the example where I decided now I'm done with this tea. I'm not, but hypothetically, I was done with this tea, and then water, and then I continued finishing the class, got a cup of water, made a shakal, and I make one burn of fashas on both. So that's what I'm doing now with the benching at the end, the alagafa and the main sholish at the end of the Seder night.
It's like when we come into this room, eating something in there, coming in here.
Okay, so changing rooms is a different story. Changing locations, we learned about
with
that.
your mind that you're going.
Even then, we talked about the differences about what kind of food is it. If it's the kind of food that you're required to come back, if you leave some behind. The moving rooms is a bigger problem. But diverting attention while you're staying in some place, right? Like we learned this.
Yeah.
A guy is sitting by the Fabrengen. He says, I'm done saying l'chaim.
Right. So he would require.
And then someone else says, come on, one more l'chaim. Okay, I'll have one more.
Yeah.
Make a new bracha.
But
same benefashas at the end. Same benefashas at the end. That's it. Okay. Just going to stop the recording and restart it when we get to the Gemara now.